Okay, yeah, let's just kick it off then. Hello everyone, welcome back from a nice holiday break. I hope everybody had time to recharge, relax, touch grass, spend time with loved ones, all of that good stuff. This is the December community call. We had pushed it back to this week because last week a lot of folks were still on vacation. So, and I think quite a few folks probably still are. So this might be a smaller community call, but that's okay. Thanks everyone for being here in any case. I have a few quick reminders that I wanted to go over first, and then we'll kick it off as usual. First, two things that should be in regards to core contributors. So if contributors contributing to clients, funding, community and governance, marketing, and operations. First, you should have gotten an email from me yesterday morning to fill out a feedback form for the operational tooling services, the operational service providers. For those of you who don't know or haven't heard, Angie and I have been working the last few weeks to vet some different service providers that provide contracting and payment services. And we kind of took key pieces of information and put that into a comparison matrix for contributors to kind of look at their own situation and see what tools possibly could work for them. And we hosted some town halls in December to offer an opportunity for people to ask questions. So now we're just asking contributors to please fill out the feedback form by this Friday, so January 6th, so that Angie and I can start to get a better idea of what agreements need to be made and where, and we can kind of get that ball rolling there, so folks can also get that off their list. The other big reminder is for core contributors is that Louis and I, or the core development org working group, are hosting a all hands on Monday, so January 9th at 5 p.m. CET. You should have an invite in your calendar already. If you don't, please reach out and we can make sure we have you added. This again is as a reminder, is just to present and discuss the proposed organizational design for the core development org. I will say a few more words to this in detail of what this is and the process of how we got here a bit later in the call, but we just wanted to call out the all hands on Monday. Really, please try to make it if you can. It will be just a lot easier for understanding, and also a really nice opportunity to ask questions live and in real time. We'll also have a bunch of ways for you to provide feedback afterwards or during and afterwards. But yeah, it would be great if we could have as many people there as possible. So yeah, those are just my two quick main call outs for this month. I will now pass it over to clients to give their monthly update. Not sure who will be doing that one. Cloudhead, maybe?
Yeah, I'll I just need to...
Awesome. Yeah, I'll also, sorry, Cloudhead, just before we get started, if you have questions please feel free to write them in the chat. If you want to speak, raise your hand and we can also ask them live. I'll be sharing links as folks talk, if they exist. Usually each team posts they're pretty good about posting their updates on the forum, and I'll share whichever ones are available. If not, they will be available after the call as well for everyone. So go ahead, Cloudhead. Sorry about that.
All right. 1 second. Got the usual funky thing going on here, so give me a sec.
I can see your screen. Oh, I could see your screen, Cloudhead, and now it's gone. Are you there?
Does he have permission to speak?
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
Oh, maybe he had to rejoin. Oh, here. There he is again.
Is my mic working now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. Cool. So,
Looks good.
all right. So clients update for, well, the date is wrong on there, December 2022. So as usual, a bunch of PRs merged, both on the Heartwood and on Git and Radicle interface. We're still on track for an internal release in January. There's only a few things blocking us, but it's all on track. And this internal release will basically be, us being able to use it for our own needs and other teams if they want to. In terms of the products on the web, well, Heartwood support just landed, so that was one of the last things needed to for the release. There's a new client-side syntax highlighter, which I'm very happy about because it has much more language support and actually looks a lot better than what we had before. The tests on the client now run against the actual HTTPD, which is the backend. So no more fixtures. So this is really great for catching bugs. And we also have a visual testing framework now where it'll actually check whether screenshots look the same after changes. So that's really nice. And then on the CLI, it's a new rad delegate command, which currently only works for like single signers, well, multiple delegate single signer situations. But it does allow you to add more than one delegate essentially, which is the main thing. There's a rad assign command for assigning issues to people, and then rad issue has a list and show command now. Although these are kind of still just functionality wise, they're getting there, but they're not yet like done in terms of design and UX. And we also have like a cool CLI snapshot testing framework where you can write tests just kind of as if it was a documentation and they're going to be run and tested against the binaries. So that's been really nice. In terms of the tech, there's some changes on collaborative objects. We have comment replies and comment editing that's implemented at the CRDT level, which means the tech is there, but the CLI doesn't yet have commands to do the editing. And we have operation batching, which makes things a lot more efficient. There's a thing called peer aliases, which is just kind of a way for now to alias a public key. So it's a local alias that you can set when you track a peer. And it just lets you, it's kind of like an address book. It lets you kind of name your keys so that you can refer to them and figure out what's going on more easily. Tracking configuration, there's like a database for that now. And then there's a new crate, Radicle DAG, which is to store or to manipulate and interact with the Git directed acyclic graph, which we needed to do to be able to do like permutation testing and stuff. Anyway, I'm not going to get into details. Work on the Radicle surf redesign continues. I think it's getting to a good place, almost done. We've actually already moved the HTTP API to it, partly. And then the RIP2 identity just landed. Ask me if you want to read it, but it's on the client's seed RIPs repo. And then storage is still in review, but also in a good place. In terms of the seed and node infrastructure, NoiseXK Handshake finally landed. It still needs testing, but this means we have encrypted communications between nodes. And the next big thing really is the worker thread implementation on which the Git replication is going to be built. And that's what we're working on now. Yeah, there's a few unknowns there, but yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about it. Yeah, I'll pass it on to Finton in a second. And then yeah, we have Docker files ported over to Heartwood now. And we're also working on like static binary releases and stuff like that for the CLI. So that's really cool. Yeah, and then next up, yeah, finalize the worker thread implementation, Git replication, and implement the last remaining CLI commands that we need to essentially work day to day with our usual workflow of PRs and code review and stuff like that. Yeah, and I'll pass it on to Finton for some more updates on Git.
Yeah, so I just threw into the chat there about I can update the GitHub mirror for the rips to be on par.
Oh, sorry, I just kind of skimmed that, and I thought it was like that you wanted to update. I didn't read it.
No,
yeah,
but I
cool.
suppose the other thing to add is that we're looking into the multi-delegate, or higher threshold use case as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, so there's like a GitHub mirror for the rips, which is kind of I don't know what the policy is on it exactly, but we try to keep it up to date more or less. And we also, well, I have put out a few job postings for engineering roles, more for tech leads who could potentially branch off and run their own teams. I will update on, we've gotten candidates applying, but nothing super exciting so far, but I will update next time if anything happened there. Thanks.
Cool, great. I guess just a quick comment on the, well, first of all, question for the job postings, are those all on the like job posting page, the Notion page?
Yeah, it's called Tech Lead on Notion. Although the posts I've done so far are kind of very low, like on Reddit, on Hacker News, so they're not like necessarily linking to
that would be maybe, yeah, it would maybe be cool to like get those all in one place. Maybe that's also something we can discuss, I guess, going forward too, also with like the creation of these like new docs pages of where we want to like host all of our job postings going forward, just to make it easier for folks to find. But cool.
For sure.
And then also on the rips, just something on the rips, I noticed in the one of the channels on Discord that someone was confused about a proposal that should have gone on like the community forum and not like a proposal for like something development. I think maybe we could sync on that, or I don't know who would be the best person to, I don't know who like wrote the docs for rips, but maybe it'd be good to like sync on that and maybe add a note here and there on both ends just to like clarify.
Yeah, I guess I think I know. I think you're referring to like someone who was asking whether they should create a rip for something.
And yeah, but it wasn't like development related at all.
Yeah, exactly. So the rips are really only for like Radicle protocol improvements or updates or specifications or whatever. So if you want to propose an improvement to that, then create a rip. Otherwise, otherwise I don't know. Like I guess for grants, it has its own process, and each thing has its own way.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like I think that's clear. I think we just need to make sure that like in our language on all of our different like pages is consistent, so that folks don't get confused. But cool. I like rips though. I like the idea of like rips. It makes it really clear and like easy to kind of follow along for requests too. But cool. Okay, I'll shut up now. Does anyone have any questions or comments for the clients team?
Doesn't seem like it.
No. Okay, great. Then we can move on. Thank you, Cloudhead and Finton. We'll move on to funding. And is Andrew, are you giving the funding update today?
Yeah, hey, thanks, Shelby.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll give the update for funding / drips. Give me 1 second. Maybe I'll try to share my screen here. Let's see. Okay, cool. Can everyone see? Or Shelby, can you?
Yes. Can you maybe make it a bit bigger or zoom in?
Oh yeah, that's a great suggestion. How's that?
A little bit more, maybe. Perfect.
Cool. Yeah, this is just the as usual. I'm just kind of driving from the discourse post for our team. So so yeah, let's jump in. We've been kind of in the same place for a few months now from the perspective of Drips v2. I feel like I keep kind of saying we're ready to deploy. I think one kind of insight that we've had is that the contracts really haven't changed very much in the last few months. We've been building out a lot of the surrounding infrastructure, the documentation, the SDK, the subgraph, and then now the Drips app. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But I think one insight that we've had is that when you launch a protocol like this, you kind of have your chance to do security work before you launch is much greater than once you've launched, because these protocols can be upgradable, but the truth of upgrading smart contracts is you're much more limited in what you can do. So we've really just been doing a lot of work on security. We'll be sharing a bit more. There's like two, in addition to like the audits that we've done and some work with Certora around formal verification. We've decided to do two kind of bug bounty related things. One is working with Immunify, which will be kind of a long-term bug bounty program. But we're also working with a new project called Code 4 Arena, which they have this neat idea of like trying to bring a bunch of focus and have kind of like almost like a hackathon around the security around your smart contracts. So we're going to be announcing more details about that, but probably starting around the middle of this month and running for either a week or 2 weeks. That will be kind of the final push on security. And then I think once that's complete, we will, assuming no major problems with that are found, we'll launch. So that's just kind of an update on Drips v2. We also took a lot of time in December to kind of reflect. 2022 has been a big year for our team. It was actually just almost exactly a year ago that we launched Drips v1 and had so many sort of exciting experiments around memberships and crowdfunding. So we kind of took this chance at the end of the year to reflect. We worked with the Foundation Council and marketing and other teams at Radicle to kind of really think about what is the mission of Radicle, and how does Drips and funding fit into that, and where do we want to go from here. So end of the year is always kind of a good time for that. We'll be sharing more about our insights from that soon. So but like diving into the specific updates, Igor and Manuel continue working on little tweaks and polishing to the contracts. We've also deployed on Mumbai testnet for anyone interested in playing with Polygon or building on the Polygon ecosystem. Drips v2 is on Mumbai now. And as I mentioned a moment ago, Manuel and LA have been working on these bug bounty programs, which are super exciting. So we'll probably be talking quite a bit about that this month in sort of public channels. And hopefully doing a good final pass on security, hopefully not finding bugs, but if we do, then fixing them. So on the SDK and subgraph, Yannis has a first implementation of squeezing drips. For those who don't know what this is a feature that we added. So Drips v2 is really we think it's the most by far the sort of most flexible and gas efficient streaming protocol in Web3, and it supports raising funds through crowdsourcing in a way that really none of the other protocols do. You can it's highly optimized so that literally thousands of people can be receiving, or thousands of senders can send to a recipient. So you can support like Patreon like use cases or something like GitHub sponsors on top of this. It's really like kind of incredible work by Igor and Manuel to make this sort of scalability possible in a blockchain context. But a consequence of that is that to collect sort of like a large amount of tokens that were sent to you recently, in the protocol, you have to take kind of an extra step, and that step is called squeezing. We have a link to it on the docs page here if anyone wants to kind of like dive into more detail. But this feature is now sort of implemented end to end, and it was a highly technical one. So nice work by Yanis to get that into the SDK. I'm excited to announce that we at this point we have pretty much first draft versions of all the V2 docs pages. I guess that does leave out like this is sort of developer documentation, so docs for like developers looking to build on Drips. We do still need to roll in docs pages for using the Drips app, because that's just sort of being released in a beta right now. I'll talk a bit about that in a second, but I think in the spirit of giving like a quick demo, I'm just going to show what the docs look like. A lot of people have contributed to this. Let me zoom in a bit here, and I won't go through all of them, but I want to try to. I also hope to try to get people, anyone who's interested in diving in and helping us kind of test the docs a bit and give feedback. Would really love to hear from you, because we want to keep building on them and improving them. But we basically have these 4 different kind of sections. The 4 developers one is the biggest. We've tried to put a lot of focus on building different docs pages around how to use the SDK and kind of running through all these different concepts. But the protocol section is also pretty substantial. We have a whole new section from Drips v1. We have a whole new section around user identities. We have this powerful user identity system that we think is really neat. So kind of run through that. We've brought back the docs page that Manuel originally wrote in Drips v1 that kind of explains some of the technical underpinnings of Drips. It's got some great diagrams. And then, as I mentioned, a bunch of different subsections, kind of just explaining how to build on the SDK with little code snippets and everything. So yeah, just want to kind of put this out there for anyone who's been waiting for docs or waiting for them to improve. We basically have something for all these pages now, and first drafts, and they are ready to go. So please check them out and give us your feedback. The other exciting thing, I think we demoed this a little bit last month, but the Drips v2 landing page and app are now 100% live. I won't give a full demo, but might just kind of open this and show kind of what it looks like again. So some really amazing work by Brandon, Jason, Everett, everyone kind of working on the front end part of this. They really built this version of the app fast, and it looks incredibly good. It's got a lot of cool animations, a really nice aesthetic, and it's just got all the power of Drips v2, which is a lot to roll in. So yeah, please check that out as well, and let us know what you think of it. You can launch the app right here. So yeah, all the kind of surrounding pieces really coming together. It's super exciting. I mean, I think now there's, the contracts have been close or ready for a while, but now having all these surrounding pieces kind of in beta, it really feels like the whole thing is ready to go, which is awesome. And then on the partnerships front, Lucas and I had a nice meeting with the Graph team. There's some kind of exciting prospects around working with them to create alternative payment models for their fully decentralized indexers. They're working on decentralizing the sort of not just the indexer part of their ecosystem, but the kind of routers that send queries to their indexers. So I think there's a potential to fit Drips in there and offer a kind of alternative recurring streaming payment model for people using the Graph, which is super exciting. They're one of the most I think they're one of the most exciting teams in Web3. So it's pretty cool. It's very early, but it's fun to talk with them. So I think that's it. That's kind of the overview. Like I said, follow along with the Code for Arena hackathon this month, and check out the docs and the web app, and let us know what you think. And we really will be launching soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. Really, really great updates there. Anyone have any questions for Andrew or the Drips team? Going once, going twice. Okay. Then we will move on. I just wanted to take another quick look here. I'm not sure. No, okay. Yeah, I was going to see if someone from marketing maybe was going to join to give an update. They did post an update. I'll share that quick in the chat here. Folks want to go take a look at that. Sean posted that last night, so which I think has some really cool, really exciting pieces in it as well. Marketing is going to be like a big piece, I think, going into 2023. Or maybe this is him.
Hey,
Hi.
I haven't read through Sean's update yet, so I don't want to like just read it out loud to everybody as if we can't read for ourselves. But I'm going to scroll through it quickly and see if there's anything that I can add context to.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be awesome.
And I think primarily, I don't know, maybe we're going to have to find a different time for Sean to be able to join these. Sean's been really great work in sort of an assessment of where we've been and what we've been doing, and sort of a lot of the things that are unclear in our marketing and positioning just in the market generally, and helping us to narrow the focus. He also did like a back half of the year recap. So I worked with him on this. There's some ratings. It's pretty honest, and I would say definitely worth a read. But part of that has been like, what have we been doing? And then also audience development. So I'm sure that's linked in here somewhere. But him and I worked on developing potential target audiences. And we came up with these 4 open source developers: privacy and decentralization maxis, community builders and evangelists, and Web3 promoters. And then I think it's worth looking at the full audience profiles that he linked. And also getting some feedback. I don't know what his process has been. I think he's been talking with LA and Alexi and Abby on this, but it would be good to get everyone's feedback on that, especially now that it's been shared.
Hello, everyone. Just wanted to say hi. Sorry, I joined like in the middle of when you guys were kind of already talking about the update. I apologize. I joined late. Yeah, it's like kind of early here in the West Coast, but yeah, it's great I'm glad that we were able to get an update out, and I'm glad we were able to have a discussion about it. Curious if there's anything else I can help weigh in on, or any other context I can provide.
Awesome. Yeah, no worries, Sean. I know it's super early for you over there. But so thank you for joining, and yeah, thanks for the great update. I shared the link to the update in the chat here, so folks can go take a look at it. And yeah, if anybody has any comments or questions there, we can maybe have a deeper discussion there. But yeah, really excited to have you and Andrew kind of taking this on, and really excited to see what you folks will come up with this year. Anyone
Awesome.
have any questions, I guess, right off the bat? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next piece.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'd just say is if just to kind of like preface where we are, right? I've had like a good number of conversations, but I wouldn't see this as like totally final. I don't think any of these types of things ever are. And so especially if there's anything in here or in other things that I will post like subsequent to this that kind of rubs you the wrong way, and you have good reasons for that, right? That you can help describe, like, please reach out. I absolutely want to have those discussions, and like, that like we need to err on the side of pushing forward, and I'd rather kind of like push forward and be wrong about something small than not push forward. That's my style in general. But just especially with something as kind of like broadly able to be understood as marketing. It's really important to, I think, like have a point of view, put it out there into the world, and then actually execute on it, even if you don't get everything right. Like you'll learn along the way. But I'm super approachable. I love having conversations about this stuff. So please, don't hesitate.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for adding that, Sean. I'm really excited to have you here. Cool. Okay, then I think we'll move on to, if there are no questions or comments, then we'll move on to the community and governance update, which I will share quickly in the chat, and then also try to share my screen if it will let me. This is always a fun guess if it will or not. Oh, hang on. Let me put this in a different tab. Okay. All right. Can everyone see my screen? Yes, no, verbal.
Yep.
Awesome, thanks.
Shelby, I think you're muted.
Oh no, sorry about that, folks. Yeah, so this is our update is pretty meaty this month, and it will look a little different than it has in the past, as you'll notice. But yeah, so in one of those cool new different things is that Becca has joined our team. And she will be giving the community update to kick us off. Abby, by the way, she's traveling today and on her way to a well-deserved vacation, so she won't be joining the call, or won't be giving this update today. But yes, so Becca, I will pass it off to you to give the community update. Oh, hang on, sorry. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Okay, perfect. Can people hear me?
Yes.
Okay, first of all, I have to apologize for having a very husky / very 13-year-old boy voice at the moment. I've been quite sick over the holidays, but I don't know, I'm getting used to it now. I quite like it. Anyway, so yeah, I finally joined in December. I'm super excited to be here. I suppose the first update is that I am here now. I think I've spoken to quite a few of you, but I haven't spoken to all of you. So I'm here to kind of like whip events into shape, see how they fit in with marketing, see what we can do with the community stuff and events. So if you have just any thoughts or feelings or anything that you want to share, then just like hit me up on Discord or send me an email, and we can chat some more about it, because I'll feed everybody's thoughts into a bit of a broader strategy for 2023 and how we can make the events like really shit hot for this year. Speaking of shit hot events, the first one coming up is going to be the contributor offsite from the 19th of February to the 23rd. So there was a bit of confusion. I think there was a typo in an email. If you haven't booked your flights yet, please book your departing flights for the 23rd of February. If you have already booked, then just let me and Sally know, and we'll kind of like let you know how to deal with that about rebooking it. And yeah, we'll probably send you a couple of more updates in the coming weeks and days, but it's shaping up to be something really exciting. And then very quickly after that, we have East Denver. We are going to be there. At the moment, we've got a small sponsorship of the actual conference, and then we plan to do a couple of workshops, probably one on governance and then one on drips as part of the Biddle Week. But we are still looking at other sponsorship opportunities. I heard from Shelling Point this week. There's a couple of other cool projects and protocols out there that we might link up with. I'll put it all on a Notion page, and I'll let people know in Discord when there's a little bit more concrete to say about that. But yeah, if you haven't already let me know that you're interested in being involved or coming along to Ethan, then yeah, just drop me a line. But please do it sooner rather than later, because that is going to come round real fast.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Becca. And yeah, really exciting stuff coming forward with us this year. I'll maybe just finish going through the update, and then we'll have questions and stuff all at the end. So yeah, so the next piece is the governance updates. Just kind of generally, Abby and I have really been working hard, kind of brainstorming like what necessary updates or changes might need to happen with like to the governance process as we go forward. And as we transition to the DAO, and this kind of goes down not only the process itself, but kind of coordination and tooling, and kind of involves a lot of different aspects, and just trying to make sure that going forward we're like set up in a way that, you know, makes sense for the long term, and yeah, just take all of the learnings that we've had over the last year or 2 years, I guess, since we've launched, well, yeah, since February 2021, since the token launch, and experiments in the governance process and etc. So yeah, we'll talk more about that if you're interested on the governance call next week on Wednesday, January 11th. So please join that if you want to nerd out on governance stuff with me. And yeah, there is a Discord invite already for that event, so you can subscribe to that for a reminder. I have also been working on a like 2022 Radicle governance like wrapped summary that should be ready to go by Friday. We'll share it. We'll be sure to share it in multiple places, but 2 of those places will definitely be on Discord, and also in the governance updates channel, and also on the Radicle governance Twitter. Just kind of going over, we did this last year as well, and it kind of just goes over like the main governance proposals that were passed, things like that happened within the governance team, and like kind of where we're planning on going for 2023. So yeah, if you're interested or want to take a look, that should be ready by the end of the week. In terms of actual governance proposal updates, there have been no governance proposals or on-chain governance proposals that have gone through in the last month. Some notable discussions and temperature checks, just quickly updates. We've mentioned all of these before in past calls, but just quickly in regards to the enzyme discussion that's open right now, or has been for a few months, I think at this point. We have decided to pause this with the enzyme team until we get a clear picture of just kind of like legal liability implications on treasury diversification options. This goes beyond just enzyme. This goes like, it's kind of a broader question, as you also know, or we've mentioned in other calls as well. Kind of treasury management and treasury diversification has become like a bigger topic or focus for us as we move forward, because it will become kind of more of a critical piece, or we have already gotten a lot more different proposals coming through, like with different ideas or different opportunities, and we just want to make sure that we have like a really clear understanding of all of the implications that come with these different options. And as we form like a treasury management working group, like how to set that up, and, you know, also implications with how that's set up. So pause on that for now. But yeah, we started some discussions before Christmas, and we'll hopefully continue some discussions with legal counsel this month to get a better idea there. And we'll be sure to share all of that, like updates on that as well by the end of the month. Hopefully, if we feel like that we've gotten enough information. And then just quick notes on 2 temperature checks. So the Ecosystem Growth Fund retrospective, Nassar posted a few weeks ago now. There were quite a few like responses with questions and comments regarding the retrospective, and Nassar has gone through and responded to all of those. So if you haven't looked at this yet, I highly recommend doing so. I think it does a good job of not only the post itself, but the discussion around the post does a really good job of kind of like explaining like really key takeaways and learnings, and how we could potentially like, or how they could potentially like regroup and move forward. So yeah, and then for the Otter Space temperature check, this is currently being tested, or the Otter Space badges are currently being tested in grants, which Boredom I'm sure will give you a nice clear update on that after we're done with this. So I won't say too much there. But yeah, also just kind of continuing to, work with Otterspace and brainstorming other like non-tokenized governance mechanisms or tools that would possibly work in the broader DAO. So beyond grants, so within core development org or across the DAO, etc. So yeah, that's kind of like where that is at. Now, in terms of transition to the DAO updates, I will pass it over to Louis. The main updates for this month, you'll notice there's only one for the org design workstream. This is kind of where most of the work has been focused over the last month. So there's only notable updates for this one. So, but yeah, I will pass it off then to Louis Gray, who should be able to Yes. Hello.
Okay. Hello. Yeah, this December was pretty busy for us. We've been trying to reach our goal for the transition deadlines. And so I would summarize that we have like 3 core main things we've been working on. The big one being the org design model and the proposal. So we conducted a sprint in December, coming up with some prototypes for what a model for this for the core development org can be. And we narrowed it down to 3, and then we had amazing contributors, 7 of you guys, that gave us a one-on-one feedback, and that was really helpful for us to then kind of come up with one main org structure that we're going to propose to everybody for some feedback. And so we're going to actually drop the proposal in full. It's a draft of a proposal. So we're not going to submit this officially into governance until February 16th, I believe. But we want to share and get feedback from everyone in this group first. And so we're going to drop a really big proposal. I'm going to warn you that it is long because it's like we really wanted to make sure that we thought through every piece of it. But there will be an all hands Monday. And that's where we're going to go through all the different pieces individually. So don't feel like you have to have read everything by Friday. We just want to leave that option for you in case you want to read it long form before. But we will be going through the different sections on Monday. So we're really excited for that. There's so many moving pieces, and I feel like we're finally getting to pull all of them together and kind of present something cohesive. And the second piece is that Ange, Sally, and Shelby and Abby have been working really hard to ship so many contributor resources that are part of this work stream and this transition. And so the contributor tax and financial planning Q&A with those sessions and the regulatory overview sessions that both Shelby and Ange have been working on. I just want to give huge shout out because I know it's not easy and it's a very complicated process to get all that information to you guys. And then the third one is the one that Shelby's really been leading around the core development org tooling, the tooling matrix, and then the town halls that kind of go along with the service providers, the 3 service providers. All those links are available to you in an email that was sent. If you don't have them, let us know, and then we'll make sure that you have access to all of those docs. But one of the things for the tooling matrix and the service providers is that they are collecting all the feedback by this Friday. And that's going to help kind of drive some of the operational decisions, some of the like service providers that the org needs, etc. So you'll be hearing from Shelby and Ange and Sally regarding that aspect. So that's it for us. Really looking forward to seeing everybody on Monday.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Louis. Yeah, I guess just like the next steps pieces here were already mentioned in Louis' update, so we'll just skip over those. But yeah, awesome, cool. Anyone have any questions for Becca, myself, or Louis? There was a lot, so thanks for hanging in there. Okay. Cool. Awesome. Well, then we'll just keep moving right along then. And I'll pass it off to Boredom with grants update.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let me just share my screen. Cool. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, I'll go through 3 main topics today. Just a few grants that we started funding or that are in progress, and then some work around governance that Shelby alluded to. So a few in progress things. We funded a group called Apiary. This is kind of sourced from, I think, Abby and Shelby, and basically trying to fund research into governance. This group has done a lot of work with, it's actually, I believe, one of their first, if not the first time that they're working with a Web3 team, but they're quite experienced in working with kind of socially conscious or sort of nonprofit organizations that are trying to restructure themselves in a way that creates basically just keeps them sustainable over the long run. So if you haven't seen that, take a look. They have a really interesting sort of profile of groups that they worked with before, from like Mozilla to like this really interesting sustainable women's health and actually condom company. So go ahead and check that one out. They'll be working with us like probably over the next 3 to 4 months as we transition to the DAO. So they'll be bringing in like a lot of insights from their previous work, and then kind of giving us input into like how best to structure that. And then there's 2 ongoing grants. Yorgos put forth kind of like a first iteration plan for a VS Code IDE plugin. So we started the funding on that. So they've started the work on that. And then Chris has been doing research on binary storage. He recently started a discussion on Discourse. A big thank you to everyone who participates in those discussions. I think it's really good when we can get external people who are really motivated to contribute, to get feedback from you who are really the experts on the core product. And then the last bit is going over badges and outer space. So Shelby alluded to this, and basically for anyone who's not aware, outer space has been using non-transferable tokens. And basically what this means in the context of governance is it opens up the ability to have one person, one vote governance. So as opposed to tokenized governance where you can have a whale who holds 50% of tokens and kind of sways everything left or right. So what we've done, and I'll go over this in more detail, just basically we've created badges with the outer space team. We've created badges that cover committee members, grantees, and we've started minting these badges out to everyone that we wanted to so far. And we've got lots of documentation on onboarding this. So I think what I'll start with is just kind of going over some of the ways that we'll be using that. So this is going to be, this has not been voted on, but we're going to use Outerspace to vote on this. Basically putting some guardrails and some, I guess, guidelines around how we're going to budget stuff so that we can kind of streamline and help guide grantees when they come to us. So if we have got $1 million budget, which is roughly what we have, we're thinking we'll give 10% to dependencies. These include things like Snapshot, Gnosis, Compound, and the Radicle Drips team. We'll be setting this up once Drips V2 goes live on mainnet. So we already have all of these groups' wallet addresses, and so we'll be just sending them 10% of our budget via Drips, and we'll probably schedule that over I think either 6 to 12 months, and then in the middle is really the kind of the core meat of what grants is all about, which is funding anything that contributes to the core product or third-party integrations that extend core products. Nothing is changing here. This is just going to be all done via the Gnosis Safe, directly funded that way. But the new thing that I wanted to propose, and which we'll put up for a vote with HonorSpace, is retroactive funding. And this will be for use case grants. And this is basically, the idea here is that core infrastructure grants either touch the core code on the left side, or they have something to do with some kind of like third-party plugin that plugs into that and extends the core product. And then use case grants are whenever someone's just using the infrastructure that we built. And the kind of the philosophy here is that we don't we kind of just look at the use case grants as almost as a marketing budget, and it's basically a fee for us to onboard new users to the infrastructure that we built. I think in sort of in terms of being like financially sustainable, it doesn't really make sense to be giving out free money upfront for people to use stuff that we've built, because that means that we've used all of our resources. And then if we're also giving out free money for people to just start working with it, it kind of can create the great analogy is basically you have a kitchen sink and you're putting a hole in it. And so we don't want to do that, but what we do want to do is if someone happens to use Radicle, any component of Radicle, and they make out a really great use case and they come to us after they built it, then we'll retroactively fund them. And the idea here is we're incentivizing people to use it and to share it with us and share it with others and then get paid for that work. But what we really want to do is incentivize people to actually build back into some of the core infrastructure. And a good example of this is a recent team asked us, they wanted to get 50,000 or some odd USDC to help with peer review for really niche medical testing, and it's a really niche problem. There's a lot of high risk with medical testing, and that's not a good example of something like a core infrastructure grant. It's more like a use case grant. But what we could do is we could say, hey, if you want to build a system that helps with peer review, why don't you, instead of going after peer review within this very niche context of medical testing, why don't you look at peer review writ large? Why don't you look at how can we build incentives and payment mechanisms to incentivize good peer review for anyone who wants to do peer review in any sort of any vertical, and that's kind of the crux of why I'd like to structure it that way. What we're doing with OtterSpace is we've already set everything up in November and December on Optimism. We've completed an end-to-end snapshot test, and I'll show you what that means. And then this month and next month, we'll start testing this out. So putting just things that we normally might put up for a vote just amongst the committee members, we'll put it up for a vote for anyone with a badge, which means anyone who's completed a grant and the committee members. And finally, the OtterSpace team is going to mainnet around March or April, and that kind of times up nicely with when we want to transition to the DAO. So hopefully we'll have some learnings in the next month, 2 or 3 months, to bring to that, so that other teams, like core dev teams, could adopt whichever sort of components of this that they like and would benefit from. And basically the way it works is we'll still, at least for grants, is we'll still make proposals on Discourse. Then we'll have off-chain snapshot votes, which rely on HonorSpace. And then anything that passes there will just get sort of rubber stamped on Gnosis and get funded. So the general concept of this is that OtterSpace lets you create an arbitrary number of badges and an arbitrary number of types of badges. So for grants, it's pretty simple. We have grantee badges on the top left and anyone who's a committee member on the bottom left. And that can add up to, let's say we have 6 committee members. If we had 100 grantees, it'd be 106 votes. And then on the right side is the pretty simple 2-step process for voting, where we would just put something up for a grant proposal. it could be a grant proposal, it could be a governance proposal, however we want to change something with regards to what we're doing with our money. We can actually let anyone vote on it now, so it's not just limited to the Gnosis Safe members. So we can basically, right now we don't have so many people who actually like finish grants, but you can imagine like 6 to 12 months from now, if we have 30 people who've completed grants, then we go from having 6 voters, 6 people giving input, 6 people giving feedback, and 6 people giving their sort of sign off on it to a much larger group, and then basically just sort of distribute the influence with the funding there. So I'll go ahead and show you kind of like what this looks like. On Snapshot, it's very simple. Here's a test that we ran. And so you can see that I voted here. Obviously, I'm a committee member. I have an OtterSpace badge. If I were to if I were to come in here with some other kind of, if I didn't have the badge or had a different badge, I wouldn't be able to vote on this. And it's pretty simple. It just takes in, let me just find this. Here we go. Yeah. It just takes in like simple JSON blob. You tell it, hey, here's the badges that I want. So in this case, we've got committee members, grantee badges. And so long as someone has one of these, they're able to vote on any proposal in here. So it's a neat way to kind of gate your voting and gate your governance without relying on token voting, which can kind of be kind of get swayed left and right by whales. So yeah, that's the conclusion of this. I'll be updating everyone with like kind of how this is going and what's working and what's not working. But yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Boredom, for going over that and also like in such detail with explaining kind of the OtterSpace ins and outs. I think, yeah, this is a really good overview of grants, I think, and also like a good precursor for our all hands on Monday, because we'll kind of go into how we're thinking about using OtterSpace within the core development org. And I think it will make a lot more sense after having seen this. So thanks for going over that. Yeah, as Boredom mentioned, it's a really great opportunity to kind of distribute influence within the DAO in a way that it doesn't revolve around tokens or token voting, and could be a super powerful tool that's really customizable. As Boredom mentioned, you can have like an arbitrary number of badges for different things, and you can like make certain votes only available to folks who have certain badges, etc. So there's a lot of like opportunity there. So it'll be really exciting to keep track of your experiments with grants and work with you to yeah, kind of collect learnings and feedback there, so we can possibly make a good plan to potentially use in the core development org or other teams to use like within the DAO as well. So that's awesome. And yeah, thanks for sharing. Boredom also just shared the docs page in the chat. Also, just one quick note on his apiary update. Apiary will also be kind of, as an initial part of their grant, will be doing some like stakeholder outreach and interviews. So if you're interested in speaking with them, it is kind of focusing on governance, but a lot of it is also kind of doing like a deeper, almost like a assessment of, you know, the Radicle vision overall and like how people feel like about that, and then tying that into governance. So it kind of is like an all-encompassing yeah, goes beyond governance, like ties also like very deeply into just like bigger Radicle vision and mission. So if you're interested in speaking,
can I add one note on that?
Yeah.
Like one way to look at it is, even if you don't care and don't give two shits about governance, they really want to look at everyone involved as a stakeholder of the governance that is going to get set up. And so I think even if you don't really care about governance, I think it's a great opportunity to just put your 2 cents in and say, hey, this is what I'd like to get out of it, even if I'm going to be a very passive passive actor within the governance of any DAO or sub-DAO. So that's just one thing to think about.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. That's a great way to put it. And yeah, so if you're interested in speaking with them, please do reach out to me as soon as possible. Otherwise, we will be reaching out to a few individuals here and there to try to get a good scope. And this is anyone. It's not only like Radicle contributors, it's users, it's any other stakeholder, like any stakeholder within the Radicle community they want to get like a really kind of collective view from everyone. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me, Shelby, on Discord. And yeah, well, that will be happening over those interviews or conversations will be set up over the next few weeks. And yeah, so I know we're over time here. Does anyone have questions for Boredom? No? Okay. Great. I have one last tiny thing, and then I will close out the call unless anyone else has anything they want to discuss or add. Just kind of like quick call out or like kind of resurfacing the discussion around these community calls. We kind of have brought it up before that the structure of these might change going forward, and just trying to kind of figure out what would make the most sense. There was a Discord thread about this, which I'll share here, about like the future of community calls. Something that Abby and I have been throwing around that would be interesting to get some feedback on, is maybe doing like, since most of the community calls are mostly focused on core development teams, so like clients, funding, marketing, etc. Like maybe doing like a core development org monthly call, so kind of like this, and then doing the quarterly DAO wide call. So that's when you have like all of the other orgs also join, and like each org kind of gives like a more general update quarterly, and then the like core dev teams kind of keep on the monthly schedule. Was kind of one idea that we have been throwing around. And I think that if you look in the thread, there's like discussion, there's like a more nuanced discussion, I think, around different things as well. If you have any ideas or have any like really strong preferences, please do drop a comment in that thread, and we'll continue the discussion there. Otherwise, we will see everyone back on January 25th. That's our next community call. January 25th, same time, 4 p.m. CET, 10 a.m. Eastern time. Thank you everyone for joining. It was a very busy December, which is super exciting to see, and really, really exciting like outlook for or like initial like outlook for 2023. So yeah, if anyone has any questions on anything, I think the best place to reach teams is Discord. Otherwise, the updates, if anybody missed anything, all of the updates are posted on our community forum. I will also post the recording of this video and links, all of the links that were shared in the call, in the notes of the recording, and we'll share that in the announcements channel on Discord when that is ready. Hopefully, well, it will be ready by tomorrow, end of day latest. So yeah, thank you everyone, and we will see you at the end of the month.
Bye.
Bye-bye.